Hi, everyone. I'm Tracey Neale, and this is the nitty-gritty of modern caregiving. In this podcast, every other week, I ask my special guest to share their caregiving stories, both challenging and inspiring, also helpful resources and lessons learned. Today, our special guest is Lindsey Vajpeyi with Insight Memory Care. She's here to talk about a program that has totally reshaped how I deal with caregiving in my own household. I can't wait to tell you about it. And this program, as amazing as it is, it doesn't cost a dime. It is free. We're going to get into it. But we begin today, as we always do, with a moment of self-care. I need it as much as you do. And with the help of an amazing group called A Beautiful Chorus, we're going to exhale together. Ready? Okay, here we go. Breathe it in, let it out, breathe it in, let it go, breathe it in, let it out, breathe it in, let it go, breathe it in, All right, now that we are centered and grounded, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Lindsey Vajpeyi is the Director of Early Stage Programs at Insight Memory Care Center in Northern Virginia. For 22 years, Lindsey has had the honor of working with older adults who live with dementia and with their care partners. Her certifications include Certified Dementia Practitioner, Certified Alzheimer's Disease and Dementia Care Trainer, Activity Director Certification, and she is a Dementia Friends Champion. Lindsey is passionate about quality dementia care from professionals, support, and education for care partners, and helping individuals living with dementia retain a sense of self and purpose throughout every stage of the disease. Please join me in welcoming Lindsey Vajpeyi.
Lindsey, welcome. So
Thanks,
glad to have
Tracey.
you. Yeah, absolutely. It is just a thrill for me to have you here talking about a program that means so much to me and to my family. We're going to talk about our journey through the SHARE program in just a bit. But I will say from the onset, I know this is really going to be focused on dementia and dementia care. But I feel, after going through it myself, that a lot of the skills and the lessons learned, the innovation can be applied to all caregivers who are going through their own individual journeys. Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. It really opens up conversations within families anytime there are changes that are occurring with age, whether cognitive or physical.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Tell us what SHARE is, and let's talk about how it works, because I want people to fully understand that this is not some quick little program that you answer questions online. This is in-depth.
Right. The SHARE program is an evidence-based program. It is meant to help with care planning when there's a new diagnosis of dementia. So how to live well today, but also make some plans for the future. And one really unique aspect of the SHARE program is that it is involving both the recently diagnosed person and their primary care partner. So both individuals are coming to the table equally involved in the conversation. And evidence-based means that it is based on years of research and has been tested itself to meet certain outcomes. And so there really is a lot of thought behind the program, the structure of the program, the goals to make it as meaningful as possible for the families who go through this experience.
Research-based and also innovative, and I love the combination of the two. So in our case, my mother has been diagnosed with dementia, and you were our facilitator, and we loved having you guide us through this program. But we committed to 5 weeks. I mean, you were coming over to the house, we were at the kitchen table, and we were going through everything. So let's start with that process. How does this work?
Yeah, I love how personal the SHARE program becomes, right?
Yeah.
The two individuals working with their assigned SHARE counselor really gives us a chance to get to know each other and to build some of that rapport so that we can have these sensitive conversations. So the format of the program is that we meet each week for 5 consecutive weeks. We have a curriculum that we follow and certain goals that we're trying to accomplish each session. And there's also an optional family session, which is a really great way to loop in additional care partners and involved people. And it really gives us an opportunity to explore a variety of different topics, from really understanding the diagnosis, symptoms, treatments, research, day-to-day challenges, feelings, anything that's coming up with that new diagnosis, through values, preferences, supporting that, who is that support network, taking care of yourself, and ultimately writing a plan for the future.
So the first thing that really surprised me was you're like, okay, Tracey, you go out of the room, and you left my mom. Her name is Ruby. You left her there at the kitchen table. And I thought that was brilliant, because if you separate us, then you're getting an honest answer from each of us without sort of thinking about how the other person's going to feel about it, or are we saying the right thing? And that gets kind of muddy because you're used to maybe answering for the person that you care for, but this is a chance for them to speak for themselves if they're able to.
One of those unique things about the SHARE program and the way it's designed is that there are a few different series of questions that I ask each partner individually. I call it the newlywed game. You're sort of going to your soundproof booths, you're each answering the same set of questions, and then we come back together to discuss it. And the goal is not that everything needs to exactly match, but it helps open up that conversation, and it gives us a better starting point. How in tune are you as a care partner with your person that you care for, or how far apart is your perception? And then let's open up that conversation and talk through it. And it does give each individual that time to really be honest and not maybe think so much about what their care partner sitting right across the table might think of what they're saying, or deferring to that care partner, which isn't uncommon for someone who's experiencing early stage dementia. Like if they're feeling a little bit uncertain about their answer, it's really common that they would look to that care partner to start filling in for them.
And the other thing, as a caregiver myself now, you kind of feel like you know everything about that person because you're doing everything for them. But one thing that was a good wake-up call for me, I thought my mom's number one concern would be what she always voices, that she didn't want to be a burden. She always says that. So I said, okay, I know what it is. I know that answer. But it turns out her answer was security and safety, which kind of, it blew my mind, because in my mind, I had created the safest, most secure environment for her. And I never realized that some of the things she was saying during the day, like if there was a loud noise, she'd want to know what that is. Or even if the dishwasher started beeping at the end of a cycle, what is that? And I didn't realize that those were moments where she was feeling insecure. And this program, through your guidance, helped me to realize that all of that is making her just need more information from me. So it's changed how I communicate with her. And if I drop a broom, if a door slams, if somebody puts a box down too loud, I just tell her. And I could see how it's just calmed things down a little bit.
Absolutely. The series of questions really give a framework to how people feel, but maybe aren't able to articulate, or not even unable. It's just when we think about like values, it's such a broad category for any of us. And we could probably all list off 5 or 10 things that we value. But when it's specific to dementia and the need for future care, we really wanted to drill down into what's important for that individual and giving them that framework to be able to answer those questions in a way that works for them. Sometimes asking a kind of a big, ambiguous question makes it hard for an individual to get to a specific answer. So through these questions and then the algorithm in the app that starts to rank things, it really helps us drill down and make a more productive conversation with that individual, help them make themselves understood.
Then we go to the circles. We're going to talk about colored circles. And it gives the caregiver and the person being cared for a clear understanding of the amount of work that goes into a day. Caregiving is hard, long hours. It's very difficult, but it shows how much you're actually doing. We're talking about the food preparation, the laundry, the personal hygiene, all of those. And what we noticed in this process through my mother and I was that my circle, which was the red one, had a lot in it. And I knew it and I was doing it every day, but just to see it and kind of feel validated that, yeah, it is a lot. And maybe we can start to move some of those tasks off to another circle. Because in my case, my mother was not open to having anybody else come into the home to help. It was just a subject that was shut down. She wasn't comfortable with it. And so I didn't push it. But this kind of gave me a little armor, a little partner to go in there and say, yeah, maybe we can start to look at that.
Right. I think that visual representation, having all of those items in one circle does kind of hit different, both for that care partner with the validation, but even for that diagnosed individual who sees, oh, that seems like a lot for my daughter or for my spouse. And it helps that person verbalize how they don't want to be a burden or how they recognize that could be a lot for one individual. And even if in the day-to-day, there's still some resistance to having unknown people be involved in their care and in their life, which is natural as humans, right? We get nervous about those sorts of things. At least you know, as a care partner, that deep down, my mom does recognize that this is a lot for one person. And I know that she loves me and wants the best for me. And her intention behind it, I can honor, even if in the day-to-day, we do have some kind of conflict.
Absolutely. And we can see just, I'm going to hold up another chart. So the initial circle has a bunch of items day to day. The helper circle is empty. And then as we move through the 5 weeks, you can see how some of the duties have been, not a lot, but some of the duties she's now more open to having somebody else do. And that just, it just makes you feel like, okay, I'm going to do my best and it's okay. We're going to get through this thing. And there are different ways of doing it.
I think it really does help reinforce that it's going to take a team. It's going to take more than one person providing support to have the best quality of life, both for the person living with the memory loss, but also that care partner. And it gives you that visual representation and that, at least usually for the diagnosed person, that openness to extra support, even if that's not their really, preferred outcome, that they really recognize that is going to be needed. And I think that helps. And it helps maybe relieve a little bit of the guilt for that primary care partner as well, who wants as much as possible to honor their parent or their spouse or their loved one. But there's just the reality of every day too, and the number of responsibilities and the logistics and caring for yourself so that you can stay healthy to then care for your mom.
Yeah. And that was the next phase that we moved into was, I think you asked, are there things that you miss doing as a caregiver? And for me, it was kayaking and I don't know, I said maybe riding my bike or something, but it made me stop and think, those things are important. They're also healthy for you to have some balance and do the things that you enjoy. And you asked my mom the same things. And so it was nice to have somebody who's outside of the family to kind of look in and say, hey, what are the things that can still make life enjoyable?
Yes.
Manageable.
Yes. You have to have things that you look forward to in life and things that fill your cup, that help you take care of yourself, that give you energy, that inspire you. And those are important too. And I think when we think of a sort of medical diagnosis, like a form of dementia, we think about doctor's appointments and we think about medications and we think about the ADLs, activities of daily living, and other functional things where we need to provide support. But what about taking care of ourselves as a caregiver? And for the person with memory loss, what can I do to best take care of myself so that we can each bring our best selves into this partnership and have the best life together? And so one of the goals that I have as a counselor in that session where we talk about meaningful activity and self-care is you really have to invest in yourself and include things that help you take care of yourself every day, because this is more of a marathon than a sprint, right? You have to continuously keep yourself in that equation. What do we both need today and tomorrow, rather than just sort of shifting all the attention to what this diagnosis means for the person who's living through it, right? You both have needs. Your lives are both changing through the coming years. And so really helping families to kind of reset that expectation that, I'm important too. We are each important so that we can be the best selves in our partnership together.
It's hard to kind of get there on your own because you are doing those daily living things and you look up and it's 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, if you're lucky, right? Yeah. And you just get lost and you don't have time to stop and think about that. Just to have an outside program that says, hey, that is as important as the doctor's appointment. So let's talk about the future, because that's another thing that I love about this program is it focuses on where you are now, but it also talks about changes that are likely to come in the future. And so it looks ahead for you and it shines a light and you put that information down on paper where you can reference it later. So let's talk about the future.
Yeah, it's really hard to think about the future when we're thinking about a progressive condition.
Yeah.
Where it does create a lot of fear. It creates, just a lot of hard feelings about what might be happening down the road. So we try to shift that perspective into, what if different needs arise, right? As we all get older, whether due to cognitive changes or a physical change, whether expected or unexpected, we will all probably have needs in the future. Yeah. And so being able to think more objectively about these needs, what if I need someone to provide transportation for me? Which if you're living with a progressive condition, like a form of dementia, that is going to happen, right? Or meal preparation or help in the shower or a variety of other kinds of tasks. It helps us really kind of step back and think about who would I prefer to help me and also who would I be open to. So maybe my preference is to have my primary care partner, but then kind of thinking through the reality of that person might not be available 24/7, 365. So am I open to other people being involved? And I think it does really help that person kind of adjust their expectations. I think for lots of us, we think we're just going to keep doing what we're doing today for years and years and years, right? And we blind ourselves to some of the changes that might occur. And so this gives us a little bit of a safe opening to talk about, if different changes happen, how are we going to address them as a family?
I love that because the changes are coming and you don't want to face it. And you almost can't, as a caregiver, think too much about the future because you have to do your daily stuff and get through it and keep yourself emotionally healthy. So it is hard to look ahead.
I think there's such a delicate balance of just living your life today. I mean, don't worry so much about what's going to happen in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Don't dwell on it, but also don't ignore it. Don't put your head in the sand. You do want to be prepared. You don't want to be caught off guard. Life can be better if you are set up to be ready for it, whether that's in your living environment or financially or by developing a support network. We do want to think about the future, but not get too caught up in that because it's important that you enjoy every day. One of the things that we talk about at the end of the SHARE program is celebrating your accomplishments, no matter how big or small.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So an accomplishment isn't necessarily that my mom was excited for me to hire an in-home caregiver, but the accomplishment might be that they were smiling with each other or, gave each other a hug when that caregiver left for the day. And it's like, yes. There was something, a success there, something that went well. I can build on that. That can give me energy and validation to keep moving forward.
Those small victories are so important, so very, very important. It's almost like breath or food, you need it to go on. You touched on the R and SHARE, the resources that you guys are able to take that fire hose of resources that's out there, which you just look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, which programs, like where do I go? What do I do? Because there's so much. And you just sort of drill it down to what you actually need now and what you might actually need in the future. And you're able to compile a list and then hand that to the family.
Yes, I think that is one of the benefits of working with a SHARE counselor, like going through this program versus just doing your own research, because there are many different things out there. And as a caregiver, first of all, you're really busy. You've got a lot of other things happening day to day, and you don't have hours to spend researching and then making phone calls and, only to maybe hit a dead end because that isn't the right program for our family. So working with a professional who has knowledge about the senior care industry, about dementia, about resources in the community, really helps you focus your attention on what's going to be most meaningful for our family. And in the SHARE program, we're really documenting all of that into a SHARE plan, which I really think of like a directory. It's basically a list of people, whether family members and friends or community service providers, who can provide support in the future. And we indicate how they can be a source of support. So it is like a fire hose of information. It's like so many things coming at you, and some of it is for now, some of it's for later, some is for your mom, some is for you. And this really gives you that written documentation so that later on you can refer back to it and say, oh yeah, I forgot that resource existed. It might be time for us to give those folks a call. And it really gives you something to look back on so that you're not kind of recreating the wheel, like constantly trying to research. And often just opening one door, like asking one question of one knowledgeable professional, then leads you to more reliable resources. So you might not know exactly who to call or even quite what you need, but if you have some reliable resources and you called me or you called someone else that you trust, we can then introduce you to other people who can help. And it just saves a care partner energy, time, stress. And that's one of the great things about the program is it just gives you that confidence. It gives you that network to make things a little smoother in the future.
Because you can't do it alone. I am learning you just can't do it alone. You may have the best of intentions. You may be an organized person, but like I've got kids, I've got to work. You may have other things, other obligations. And even if you don't, you still can't do it alone. Like there's so much support that you guys are able to drill down what's good, what isn't good, the things to look at. I mean, creative ideas. Like one of them was for me, meal preparation constantly. So, having another senior person come into the house to prepare a meal every now and then. Who knew that was even out there? Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Your shared counselor has a lot of experience working with other families, right? So seeing lots of other ways that people handle different challenges that arise, whether it's with like a specific task in the household, like meal preparation, or a resource or a strategy for some kind of challenge that arises. So they can really help you navigate like where your sort of pain points are and direct you to different kinds of resources or ideas to address them. Because there's no one size fits all solution for anything. Every family is different. Their priorities are different. The geography is different. The resources, the acceptance of, what we're going to allow in our household and what we're not. And so it's kind of navigating this field of different options and figuring out what's going to work best for your family. And I think also just knowing that there's kind of like a plan B or a plan C, like this is what we want to do. But if that doesn't quite work out, like I know there's this other option that we could then check into.
It allows you to just exhale. I mean, and sometimes that's all you need. Exhale and take a deep breath. So let's talk about the family meeting because that's an important step. And I know it's optional, but we did it. And what it did was it opened up some lines of communication. And that is so important because these are tough subjects to talk about. It's for a person like me who's wired kind of the way I am, asking for help isn't the easiest thing in the world. I don't like doing it, but I know through this journey and I accept now I have to. And you were great at teaching me about that and then helping me to do that. So talk about that in general, the family session, how that works, the purpose.
Sure. So there is an optional family session in the SHARE program. And I would say in my experience as a SHARE counselor, most families do participate in the family session, right? Because there tend to be adult children, there might be siblings, there might be a best friend. There are additional people involved at some level, even just a backup decision maker, like a successor power of attorney. And those individuals need to know what's important to this person. What is the plan? What is our role in support for the future? And really trying to get everyone on the same page. And it can be challenging. Every family is different, but most families have some difficulty somewhere with having a real open, honest, non-tense conversation about difficult subjects like this, whether it's fear or guilt kind of coming into those interactions or just dynamics, sibling dynamics and interactions with parents and history and all kinds of things that come up. So in the SHARE program, having a SHARE counselor facilitate that family session really kind of gives everyone like focused attention. We know exactly what we're here to talk about. You've got that professional who's facilitating. So people tend to be on their best behavior, right? Because there's sort of a stranger in the mix. And it really helps make a more productive conversation. It gives you an opportunity to communicate about some difficult subjects in the SHARE program and the family session. We're talking about specific individuals sharing in the plan, like what is this family member's responsibility in the future? How can they be a source of support? And if that family member is in the family session, we get to ask them right there in the moment, is this how you see yourself being a source of support? And it gives them an opportunity to like own that and say, yes, I'm happy to do that. That's exactly what I thought I could do to help. Or it gives them a chance to say, I would love to, but I just can't for whatever reason. But everyone can hear it at the same time. And it gives each person that, I don't know, just that responsibility, that like level of commitment, and it helps bring everyone onto the same page as well. And which having a diagnosis like dementia, it creates a lot of conflict in families. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot of reasons, but it's difficult. And so this gives everyone a chance to really get on the same page and really understand what that support is going to look like for their loved one in the future.
I think it's terrific because family dynamics, as you said, it can be complicated anyway. And then you add a diagnosis on top of that, and maybe one person caring more in terms of their time than another, or whatever it is. It really can get complicated. Yeah.
Right. I've seen that in my own family. My grandmother had dementia, lived with my parents for a while, lived with my aunt for a while, eventually lived in a nursing home. And you see how the responsibility, the reactions, the relationships, how they shift, as the needs change, as whoever the primary care partner is, as that person changes.
Yeah.
And so it's really trying to help everyone understand each other a little bit more, empathize with each other, like have some sort of shared responsibility, that we are all involved here, even if we're not the boots on the ground, everyday care partner. Like there's a role that I can play even from afar, even if it's not every day or every week.
Right.
There are things that I can do as another caring person.
Now I understand why you're so compassionate and so good at your job. You have seen this journey before, and you know how it impacts people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the end, you get something like this. It's a care plan. I'm holding it up now. It's in a binder. And what do you do with that? What do you want us to do with that?
I always want families to find this to be a useful resource into the future. And especially as a care partner, you've continuously got information coming at you. You've got changes occurring in your household that you're adapting to. And it's really easy to just sort of put this document away and sort of forget that it ever happened, right? But we want it to be useful in the future. So one of the things that I encourage when we're wrapping up the SHARE program is really thinking about when will we review this together? Where will we keep this document? How will we make changes? When will we know to utilize different components of that SHARE plan? Because we do want it to be a resource to you. And it doesn't mean that everything is going to go according to plan in the future. There will be bumps in the road. There will be detours. You will discover a new resource. Maybe a care partner's availability changes for whatever reason, but you still have this document that you can look back on to help you remember what's really important to the person that I'm caring for. Where is their openness to have additional support?
Yeah.
What could those supports be? Even if we haven't used them yet, it might be something that I could use now or into the future.
And you can also give it to the person that's dealing with your finances or legal issues, or even give it to your doctor.
Right. Share it with the doctor, like the neurologist, so that that person really understands what's important to that individual. They're coming at it from a medical side, but as the doctors are thinking about different things that come up, whether medication, treatment, symptoms, it helps them to understand their patient and what's important to them. The financial advisor, if there is someone who can help understand the flow of money, a lot of the different supports are expensive, right? In-home care is expensive, and assisted living is expensive. Care management, most of them do have some kind of cost. So that financial advisor, knowing what the plan is, helps you prepare. If there's a care manager involved in the future, like a social worker or a nurse that helps coordinate services, it gives them kind of a shortcut to what's really important to you.
Well, we feel better prepared now and for the future because we have this plan, because we've spent time with you, our SHARE counselor. As a family, we are better for it. And I just want to thank you for taking time to explain the program and maybe bring it to more people so they become aware of it, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
Is there anything else about SHARE that you want us to know before we wrap up here?
Well, no matter where you live around the country, there are SHARE counselors all across the country. And so you can always reach out to the Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging, which is the organization that puts the SHARE program together and trains all of us to deploy it in the community. And at Insight, we do offer the SHARE program via Zoom as well. So no matter where you are, this is a resource that you can access. And so I just encourage families to go out and ask questions, look for those reliable professionals in the community that can help them understand other resources and help them open doors so that you can develop that team, that network of support. Because as you said earlier, Tracey, no one can do this alone. Even with the best intentions, this is just something where you do need a support network.
You really do. And we're so grateful to have you on our team. We hope you stay on our team. You're a wonderful team leader. So we want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Lindsey, for sharing the SHARE program with us and with our viewers and our listeners.
Oh, thank you, Tracey. It's really been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Lindsey Vajpeyi, telling us all about the SHARE program. Here are today's top takeaways. It is free, thanks to some very generous donors. It is available nationwide, and you can apply the concept of the SHARE program to your own family, even if you're not dealing with dementia. Create a family plan and distribute it to anyone who has a stake in your loved one's future. That does it for this episode. Take care, everyone. Remember to exercise, eat right, and seek joyful moments. Caregiving family, let's stay connected. You are not alone. Special thanks to A Beautiful Chorus. You can find them at beautifulchorus.com. Candy Marketing Store, and Emma Neale for graphics. Visit our YouTube channel and don't forget to subscribe.